My name is Cardell Emmett Tabb, the brother of the late James B. Tabb. My brother was a good man and a religious man, and things he did for the city of Williamsburg when no one ever had done. He would pick up people trash up with his trash truck, and those who didn't have money to pay for months, he would still pick it up because I worked with him on the back of that truck for years. And let me see, I don't know what else can I say. He helped a lot of people. He learned a lot of people money that people didn't know about, and people probably have never paid him back. So he was a very, very, very special person in my life and in my family. So I no more what I can say, but he should have his name on one of those schools in Williamsburg because the Tabb family did a lot for the city of Williamsburg. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I am Maria Tabb Norman, the oldest daughter of Reverend James B. Tabb Sr. It's so much I could say about my dad as a daughter and one that saw so many things in his life that has impacted me till this day. Growing up in his household, we were taught to love people not based on color, but character and how they treat you. I always, and I still stand on that till this day, I treat people the way I wish to be treated. Now, there's so many things I could say, but I'm going to really talk about being one of the first to integrate James Blair High School in 1964. Well, my dad was the president of the NAACP, and of course, I had to be one of the people to be, I would say, integrate this school. Well, I didn't like it. No, I was not happy about it because I was happy where I was at Bruton Heights High School. But we were looking at greater things, better opportunities for us as a race. At Bruton Heights, we were family, the village. And there were things that we didn't get that was given to the white schools. I remember books that we would get with names written in them, pages torn out, but this is what we received. So they were looking at ways to help us enhance our educational experience. In 1964, it was 3 of us that entered James Blair High School on that day. The cameras were everywhere, and it was something that I wasn't expecting, but I will never forget that day. And we were mixed with people we were not used to being around. And I was treated real well, even though there were certain things that happened during the time of integration. But I had some rewarding experiences. I had some experiences that were not so nice, but they were durable. I was able to endure. And I can say my dad was one that he loved people. He believed in second chances. He believed in, being fair. He was not always treated the right way. Now, I can tell you that because there were some times when I would have never handled it the way he did, but I attribute that to his relationship with God. We serve a God of love. We have to love even when God tells us to love our enemy. This is what we must do. It's not always easy, but I can truly say he was a great example and a role model for me. And his favorite saying was, if I can help somebody along the way, then my living is not in vain. And he didn't just say it, he lived it. And I can speak because I was in the home of this great father. And this is the way I carry myself till this day. I am so honored that he is being considered for a school. Not many people are thought of in that direction, but I think that he is worthy and he has lived a life that now we can look back on and we're grateful to have such a great father. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sylvia Tabb Lee. I am the daughter of Reverend James B. Tabb Sr., one of 3 children. I remember so many things about my dad growing up, and as an adult, it's very hard to know where to start sometime. But I remember on Sunday mornings waking up as Dad would prepare for his day, as his sermons and thoughts, us singing in the living room with the piano, my sister playing, and us just singing to God's praises. We thank God for just allowing us to grow up in a home that taught so many wonderful values, very things like how to treat people, love one another as you love yourself. And I also want to remember one of the most important things was that I was one of the first to integrate Rawlsburg School. 3rd grade for me. I was the only person of color in my class for 3 years. At that time, at that age, because we were not taught to see differences in people, I saw myself no different, even though everyone else was white. It was not until we used to play a game, we played a game called Fruit Basket Turnover. We would play a game where the class would have one person leave and go out. We would then scramble the class so everyone would move to different seats, and then someone had to guess who was missing, the person that left. I remember that I wasn't the one who could go out because they would know that I was different. It wasn't until then that I realized I wasn't like everyone else. In spite of that, my family still instilled in us to love people in spite of who they are, how they treat you. God taught us to love one another and know that because of him and because of him, we should love one another as well. I thank God for this opportunity to honor my father, and we appreciate those who are considering having this wonderful thing happen to our family. May God bless you, and thank you for everything.
My name is Yvonne Tabb Austin. My father was John Tabb. He was the 2nd oldest of the 13 children, and he had a very close relationship with Uncle Jimmy. We all did. He was Uncle Jimmy's big brother, and Uncle Jimmy relied on him as they got older for as far as getting knowledge on how to do things in life, because he helped him when he went to college. So looking at that relationship, growing up, and the closeness that they had as brothers, had inspired me also to be close with my family members. But Uncle Jimmy was special to all of us. As he grew in Williamsburg, he became very well known because of, not only because he was a minister of 2 churches, Mount Harriet and Rising Sun, but because he was also the president of the NAACP. So he was very active in the community. He also was part of the Frontiers Club, which was a group of black professionals and other members of the community that worked to improve the livelihoods of black people here in Williamsburg. He also, as we said before, he had a business, but one of the things I did admire about my uncle. He was ahead of his time because he did have jobs for the returning citizens, and back then that was very important. Some of the other things that he did, people would always expect my uncle to be there at funerals because they knew that Uncle Jimmy came with love and respect for all families there. As he learned from my grandfather, who also was in the funeral business, and so it was always special for people to see my grandfather and my uncle when during the passing of times, because everybody knew the Tabb family. That is one of the reasons that we as a family are close, because through the generations we were taught to family first and to pass down the love, and hopefully on down we will continue this tradition, passing on the love, but also, which was very important, that we pass down the spirituality that has been part of our family since the beginning, as we started with Alexander Tabb. I appreciate this opportunity to speak on my uncle.
Hello, my name is LaShonda Pullum. I am the eldest grandchild of Reverend James B. Tabb Sr. And my fondest memories of my grandfather is his smile and how contagious his smile was. No matter what type of day he was having, he had that same beautiful smile that was contagious. You just couldn't help but smile. And, you know, like I said, he could be having a bad day, but his smile was amazing, and it made everyone in the room smile. I also loved how he was revered by the community across the lines, both all groups of races, just had the same relationship and with him, and they loved him and his unconditional public service to the community. And that made me feel very special. I lived out of town most of my years, and I would come and visit and see him, and just to see what he did with the community, how he loved everyone from all walks of life. Everyone was welcome to his home, and he never turned anyone away. Very giving of himself in the business aspect of it, and also being a pastor of several churches. He was always available and open to the community, and I just love that. I mean, he was my grandfather, but just to see how he interact and his reaction from the community just made me super proud to be a Tabb. So I am thankful that I could just be here today and give you some insight on how special he was to me, and how he was so important in a sense, but very down to earth, never judgmental of anyone, and just a public servant. So I hope that his history goes on, and more people can get information and see how he was amazing to the community. And I mean, even after his death, I'm still super proud of him. And it goes on, and I can't wait till my kids can grow up and get to a point where they know everything about their grandfather too, or their great-grandfather, and just continue the history that he has laid before us, and that he is super proud of us too. And we remember, you know, when we move in life, we remember those things going forward and how he was. And we implement that. I know I do in my everyday life. So I'm super proud that he paved the way for us and made, made us realize how we should be when we're dealing with the community and in life. And I can't be more thankful that I had him before me to pave the way for us and set a precedence and an expectation on how we should go on and move in this life. Thank you for your time.
My name is Brandon Lee. I am the grandson of the Reverend James B. Tabb Sr. I grew up in his house on Ironbound Road until his passing, and I had the fortunate opportunity of seeing him do many things on Ironbound Road. His disposal business, one of them. At the age of 9, age 10, in the summers, I would often help on the trash truck. I remember times where he would go out into the community even after the trucks came home and pick up trash that was missed in his Cadillac. I could tell you a day that I can remember where not only did I work on the trash truck, I watched him deliver newspapers to elderly. I watched him go to the hospital and pray for the sick and shut in. I found it interesting that he would go at the same time, so the nurses knew he was coming, and they would come outside with the wheelchair. And he actually had me park the car once. I'm not gonna tell you my age, but what I found that was very interesting is that the community respected his effort. And I got the opportunity to go to James Blair. My mother went to James Blair. My aunt went to James Blair. Many of my family members went to James Blair. And I think that the name is necessary to be changed. I did not find out the history until I went to the University of Virginia and started studying history, specifically African-American history. And the name change movement, I was fortunate to be there for the early stages of it in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I'm happy that Williamsburg is taking interest in it. One of the things that I can say is that there are many people who may be deserving of a school named after them. And I'm honored that my grandfather is being considered for it. I would say that in your consideration, think about his efforts with the NAACP at times when I've heard stories where it was hard to get African Americans involved in the efforts. I've heard stories from people all up and down the peninsula about seeing them in different areas, different organizations. I loved going around town as he would talk to different pastors. I remember going to congregations that didn't often look like mine, particularly on Jamestown Road once with the Hornsbys. And those cultural moments are things that help the community be what I think the founders wanted it to be, equality for all. So as you think about equality in this name change, also think about equity. I think that's important. So thank you all who are working on this effort. And again, my name is Brandon Lee, and I vote the Reverend James B. Tabb Sr.
My name is Ann Conkling. I am delighted to have been included in this wonderful project. Jimmy Tabb was one of my best friends, one of my oldest friends. We worked together as good buddies for more than 35 years. I knew his family well. I watched him as he served in his churches, and he didn't have just one church. He had multiple little churches in James City and in Williamsburg. Frequently, I went to Mount Ararat to enjoy the music and his fine preaching, and he had the most beautiful singing voice that I think I've ever heard. He understood the power of music, and he understood the power of building your faith through worship, listening to the scripture, the sermon, and of course the fine music. He had a way of helping people no matter what the problem was. One of the ministries that he took part in almost every day was to help those who had been in trouble the day before or the week before, and he would find a way to work and get them back into life, because he also owned a business, a very successful business. He was able to offer employment to people, and that was one way to get them back on track and able to function and get adjusted to taking care of themselves. I loved his family, I still do. Precious children, and I was very fond of his wife as well. Jimmy and I could have conversations about everything from the Greek, in which much of the New Testament was written. We would talk about the theology behind the Sermon on the Mount, which both of us considered very important. The importance of the book of Romans, which so many people, besides Martin Luther, who's famous for his comments on it, but so many other theologians who believe the book of Romans is really what all of us need to know in order to live the right way. And we would have conversations just as well about the weather, the fishing in the James River, who was getting married, where was the next community function, where we could all be together. And it made for a family in the town of people who all knew each other. Williamsburg was a lot smaller in those days, but it was going through some major social changes, and we all went through it together. I watched him as he grew in prominence, and he never lost his Christian values. He was always focusing on education, compassion, inclusion, finding the right message, giving the right message, and making sure that everyone was treated with great love. Education is vital for the future of our society, and that was something that he was also focused on. I think he will be amazed at this change. I'm sure he's looking down from heaven and being very humbled, because he was a very humble person, he was never prideful. Jimmy Tabb is a name that is important for all of us. The name Tabb has been in Virginia for hundreds of years and will continue.
My name is Willie Randall, and I've known Reverend Tabb practically all of my life. Reverend Tabb was known for his profound impact on the Williamsburg community and the lives of those he served. His ministry was characteristic by a deep commitment to faith, social justice, and compassionate outreach. He often emphasized the importance of love, understanding, and unity among individuals throughout the community. Throughout his life, Reverend Tabb led numerous initiatives aimed at uplifting those in need, advocating for the less fortunate, and fostering a sense of hope and belonging. His sermons were often filled with wisdom, encouragement, inspiring many to seek a deeper commitment with their faith and with one another. Reverend Tabb's legacy also included mentorship of young people in the community, guiding them to become advocates for change and a source of inspiration. His dedication to education, both spiritually and secular, have left an indelible mark on many. The impact that he's had on my life is profound. He helped a poor kid from Williamsburg to become the success that I am today. He showed me the value of hard work, good morals, and the importance of integrity. Throughout my life, I've followed his example of doing the right thing, having faith and belief that I can accomplish anything with the help of my God. Commemorating his life through a dedication is a beautiful way to acknowledge the lasting influence he's had on individuals and the Williamsburg community.